Hello and welcome to another short drawing lesson. This week we're going to draw the Porsche 911 GT3RS, and we're going to do, to make it more interesting and a bit different from the original one that I did, the Manthey edition, which is full of bells and whistles and huge wings. Right, so the first thing we'll do is a front wheel over here. And the next thing, we'll use this, however big your wheel is, to measure the wheelbase. So this distance here, measure another one of those, and another one, and another half of one, so 2.5 wheels between, before you do the next wheel. There we are. Try and draw as lightly as you can in case you make a slight mistake. Next, we'll do the bottom of the car, which is pretty much flat and very low to the ground. Just a straight line here, which can extend out the front slightly, and at the back it just tilts up a little bit. Now we need to know what the overhangs are. So at the front we've got 3/4 of a wheel, so measure 3/4 of a wheel in front, and the tip of the nose is going to be just a little bit higher than the centre of your wheel there. So come across to that's about where the point of the car is going to be. And we've got about the same sort of overhang at the back. So there's one wheel, 3/4 of a wheel will be about there. It's just a little mark for now, so we know where to go to. We'll do the top line here, this shoulder of the car. So we need about that much distance above the front wheel and a little bit more across the back wheel. And between there, it's almost a straight line. There's just the subtlest curve, the subtlest tiny little dip between the two, but it's very subtle. It's almost a straight line. All right, now we can put a headlight just tucked onto the bottom of this, and the back edge of it will be pretty much in line with the front edge of your car, so there, and a very sloping ellipse, and we can go back to the point of our car there and make a kind of a shark's nose, that kind of thing. Comes back, and I won't get too bogged down with the wings just yet, but just bear in mind it comes down sort of straight before it comes to this big splitter on the front, which sticks out even further than the nose actually. Something like that. So we'll come to all the fancy aero stuff later. For the front edge of the door, you want a little curving line just behind the front wheel there. And it curves more as it gets to the top. And at the back here, it's a bigger gap to the wheel, and it's more sloping, but it's still got that curve, and it's still got a curve at the top edge, and slightly sloping bottom edge, maybe not too much of a slope. And this curve here gives you an idea of where that pillar should start for the windscreen and the side window. Very sloping. And same with this curve here, gives you an idea of where the join in the window is. And just like on the original Porsche that I drew before, the back corner of the side windows is exactly in line with the centre of your rear wheel. So just that's going to be where the glass returns. So you've got a little turn, you can bring this upwards, make a sharp bend there, and then bring your curving roof line straight into that, and that immediately gives you a kind of classic Porsche shape. The proportions are probably quite different from the vintage one, but there are just these little cues which mean that it still feels like the same car even after all these years. So I've just added a slither of windscreen on there to make it even flatter, and the beginnings of the bonnet, which tucks behind there and runs into the line of the nose. So it's going behind the headlights there. The headlights are much flatter than they used to be. So we can now do a couple of little details here. We've got near the tops of the arches, so just trimming the top of the car, the top of the wheels off at a funny, just a slight downwards angle. I'm going to do that front and back. So these are all overhangs, and the back one is quite useful because if you extend it, that takes you to where the furthest back point should be on the overhang, the tail, if that makes sense. So from there we come down, in a little bit, down again, and then in a little bit. So it's a little step sequence. And we'll give our roof some thickness. And that again is going to come to this sort of point there, even though there's extra stuff to interrupt that line. That's basically where the outline of your car will come to. So we'll do a few other little details that we've got down the back here. There's a lot going on here. So if you imagine this bulge over the rear arch continuing more sort of horizontal rather than coming down, that kind of tells you where this little ducktail spoiler is. Another little nod to the past. Beneath that, we've got a long slither of rear lights, which are a little bit steeper. And I think we're sort of, if you've got your basic shape down, I think we're at the point now where we can start to do all the aero stuff. So let's start at the front here and we'll just work our way to the back. So we start off, we've got this little panel here. And then in front of the wheel, there's a little panel as well. It's like a little wing aero device. And then in the gap we've got left between, we've got two sloping ramps and a little light here. There's a little wire holding the splitter on so it doesn't bend downwards. Above the wheel, we've got three sloping strakes, vents to let the hot air out, little brakes, I imagine. And behind the wheel here, just with a gap to that overhang we did before, we've got another kind of strake thing. I don't know what to call these things, but they're rectangles or wedge shapes. That's all we're interested in, is what kind of shape are they. And then you can make this interesting little cutout. It adds a nice shape to your wheel arch, doesn't it? Makes it an interesting kind of shape. And let's continue back. We've got in front of the rear wheel an air intake. It's just sort of a rounded triangle. And while we're there, we'll put the door handle on here and a wing mirror on the side. Fairly simple shape. See a bit of the support under there. Now we've got to do these things on the back here. We've got the same as we had at the front. So there's our overhang. Then beneath that we've got this widening rectangle shape which runs into the back there. Here we've got a light set into this plastic area, and there's a big split, what's that called? Diffuser at the back there. A big box basically that sticks out the back. Continues this flat line at the bottom there really. So we've worked our way around there. What else have we got? We've got a panel on the roof here. Maybe some strakes, I think they are. Some more things just directing the airflow towards the wing, which is what we've got to put in here. So quite a big one. So how's the easiest way to describe this? We've got a horizontal line kind of running off the, so this huge fin running off the roof there. And we've got a support, which if you were to extend it, would come out behind the centre of your back wheel. So we've got a pair of sloping lines. So if you imagine them continuing, they'd be to the right of the centre of your back wheel. That's one way of working out how far back it should be. And that curves around just before it gets to the height of this central fin. It also has a vertical section to it. So that kind of tells us where our big end plate needs to be, which has the same angle at the front and same angles at the back too. Got it so big I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to fit it on, but the bottom edge goes down and back. Then we've got the same angle as before, comes in with a little step. Huge, great big end plate with the M for Manthey. And what else have we got? I think that's probably all the key stuff. So we can go back now and put in some stuff that gives it a bit of depth, because it's very flat and cut out at the moment. So we need to see the inside slightly. So we've got the chair seat, the steering wheel. There's a bit of a clock or something poking through there. Got quite a sort of thick band here. And you can also see the roll cage inside. Then we'll put the ground in. That's quite important. It shows you the height, the ground clearance. And now we'll start showing the car on the far side. We've got the wheels on the far side of the car to show. And now I'm going to start pressing a bit darker on anything that's over, sort of the underside of something where it would be in shadow. Where the underside of the car can be darker. The shadow on the ground can be a bit darker. This is all going to just help give it a little bit of depth. And so this part of the car overhangs the diffuser. This part of bodywork overhangs the black plastic beneath. It's probably carbon fibre, not plastic. This overhang there, same at the front. So darkening these will just help it feel like it is an overhang rather than flat. So anywhere where there's an underside, you can just firm up those lines a little bit. And it means your drawing gets a nice mix of light and heavy lines. It makes the drawing more interesting than if it's all done with the same amount of pressure. So the underside of the roof. And now we can do some colouring in, which is always a fun part. So anything that's black carbon or plastic, whatever it is, we can just give a bit of shading. So you can do that with a pen if you like, if you've got one, or just do some hatching. Or you could use some watercolour or some pencil, whatever you like. Just something that gives it a bit of contrast to the rest of it. And that's going to be all of this stuff here. I'm doing it all with just a vertical, lighter pressure on the hatching. So I don't want it to distract from the lines that I've done, the outlines. So you've got to be fairly light with them. But they make a nice contrast and make for interest. They're often called graphics, these parts in car design, because they're just, they're designed by the designers to look interesting as well as perform a function. So anything that is made of this black carbon fibre, which includes this big wing on the back there and the fin. But if I press too hard, it would just dominate the picture and start to look a bit messy and hard to read. The underside of the end plates and the underside of there can be a bit darker there. And then, of course, the interior, you'd see a little bit of the underside of the roof if we're low down to the ground, which we are. And those things inside just become silhouettes because there's no light in there really, you just see the outline of them. There's a little Manthey sticker here. And we probably ought to put a bit of detail on the wheels. It's a matter of getting the same amount of, because it's a quick sketch of the car, you don't want suddenly a really complicated wheel to compete with a quick sketch. So it's a matter of sort of hinting at what's there without going overboard. So at the front we've got, if I simplified the wheels, there are sort of five box shapes. That's kind of what I can see if I imagined it in its simplest form. That might be enough to just hint at what's there. At the back, obviously there's the same wheel underneath, but there's an aero disc, so you don't actually see much of the spokes. So I'm just going to hint at the slots that you can see around the disc. And again, that will probably be enough detail for those wheels. Just darken the underside of the arch a little bit. And that should be, hopefully, pretty much it. I don't think I've missed anything important, too important. Probably spot it afterwards. But I hope you enjoyed that. Something a bit different from the classic 911 that I did before. I was sort of reminded to do this. I had a few requests, and then this morning I watched the great Matt Armstrong video with him and Mick Schumacher tearing around a track. Great fun. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Do like and subscribe, that's very helpful. Let me know in the comments if there's something you'd like me to try next. And otherwise, have a fantastic Easter, and I'll see you for another one soon.